Hey guys, it's Steph. I'm back with another video today, and today's video is actually going to be a review on a new palette that I just recently picked up on my most recent trips to Sephora. I actually featured it in my last video, which was my big makeup haul video, or beauty haul. I featured this and a few other things from Sephora and from other brands as well, so if you haven't seen that video, check it out. It'll be linked down below as well as at the end slate of this video. For any of you who have seen those two videos, it was split up into two parts. You probably know what eyeshadow palette I'm talking about. It is actually the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye Palette. It's not necessarily a new palette on the market, but it is new to my collection, and it is so hyped up, so I figured when I actually went to purchase it, I should probably play around with it, formulate some thoughts and opinions on it, and let you guys know whether I think it's worth the money or if it's worth passing up and maybe getting an alternative. If you guys are interested in seeing what I think of this palette and my thoughts on it, as well as swatches of all the colors in it and some other little bit of info on it, just stay tuned for the next part of this video. But I would just first like to start off by very quickly giving a very big thank you to all of you, because I just passed 50 subscribers this week, which I think is actually pretty... I'm proud of it because I never even thought I would get like 20. I never thought that anyone would watch my videos or find me interesting or entertaining or anything like that. I'm so thankful for everyone who has clicked that subscribe button or even just viewed my video and took the time out of their day to watch it. I'm just so thankful. So thank you so much. So yeah. I would really appreciate it if you guys could subscribe if you haven't already, and to those of you who have, again, thank you so much. I love you all. Now let's get to the actual video. So I wrote myself down some notes because I was petrified that I would forget something that I wanted to say. So if I keep on looking down, I'm referring to my cheat sheet. The first thing I'd like to mention is the packaging is virtually impossible to differentiate between the contour palette and the, eye palette at like a far distance at first glance, but then you kind of see some very minute differences. I have mentioned the contour palette before. It is a holy grail item for me. Like, it's one of those products that if they ever discontinued, I would die. It looks like this, and you can see when I hold up the eye palette underneath it, they're pretty much the same thing. I can't tell if they're in frame. Yeah, they're pretty much the same thing. It's the same cardboard packaging, same magnet closure, same mirror, same floppiness to it. If you're the type of person who uses mirrors to do their makeup, this might be an issue for you because it's not going to stand up, so you're going to have to set it up and prop it up against something. For me, it's not too much of a deal breaker or an issue because I rarely use the mirrors that come in palettes. I usually use my own mirror on my vanity. So I have the price, the prices in both Canadian and American currency, and the breakdown of each eyeshadow and how much it is worth in the palette. So this palette runs for $55 Canadian and $46 US dollars. So there's a little bit of a difference there. If you break it down, there's 12 eyeshadows in this eye palette, and that would be $4.58, so $4.58 Canadian for each eyeshadow in the palette. And for the American dollars, it's $3.83 per eyeshadow. Now, there are 3 eyeshadows that are bigger than the 9 others, but I just took it as 12 eyeshadows in total. You break it down, you divide the total by 12, that's what you get. So, I almost failed math class, but I can divide. I'm not that stupid. So the 3 that are the bigger ones are 2.3 grams each, or 0.08 ounces. Whichever one you prefer. And then the 9 other smaller ones are 1.1 grams each, or 0.04 ounces. The palette does come with a little insert in the box. Sorry about the glare from my ring light. The palette is split up in a neutral quad, which is the first from the left on the palette. Then there's the cool quad, which obviously has the cooler eyeshadows, and then the warm quad, which has the warmer, kind of more red, orangey toned eyeshadows. And I do like that they split it up like that for beginners especially. The eyeshadows are very, very pigmented. They are extremely pigmented, and you will see that from the swatches. All of my swatches. All of my swatches were done with an eyeshadow brush and not my finger. I feel like when you swatch with your finger, I think it's more true for shimmery eyeshadows, but even for mattes, I think it still is true that, you know, your finger has natural oils on there. No matter how clean your fingers are, they're going to be a little, you know, oily. And the pigment of eyeshadows really sticks onto your finger, and it really does create a very beautiful swatch that is super opaque and super pigmented, but very rarely do we use our fingers to do eyeshadow looks. So I feel like when you use a brush to swatch products, it's very, very essential to get the true idea of how pigmented the eyeshadows really are. And I did kind of show you guys a comparison of the black eyeshadow in here, of using my finger versus using the brush. It shows you how pigmented the black eyeshadow really is, because there's very little difference between the finger swatch and the brush swatch. Very few black eyeshadows are super duper pigmented. Black is a hard color to get really pigmented for a lot of makeup brands, but it is definitely one of the more pigmented and easier to work with blacks I have ever encountered. So I definitely think that each color in here is super duper pigmented, but easy to blend as well. And I did want to translate that through the eyeshadow swatches. I didn't use a base and I didn't use my finger. I used bare skin and an eyeshadow brush. So I wanted to kind of mention that just so you guys can see that they are truly pigmented, because there's nothing for them to stick to, and I'm using a brush with them, and that's the pigment that came out, and I think that's pretty impressive. I'm super, super pale, so a lot of them didn't necessarily show up too well on my skin tone, so in pictures you might struggle a little bit to see some of them pop up on there. But because they're so pigmented, they're very soft. So let's say my eyeshadow is here. If I was laying the brush in here, a bunch of product would fly up and disperse all over my palette, onto other colors, onto like the sides. It gets messy. There's not much you can do about it aside from tap off your brush. Although I was expecting fallout, because they're so crumbly and so powdery, I didn't get any. And I've used lighter colors as well as darker colors. I've used them all, so I've definitely seen that there has not been fallout on my face, but that is because I have tapped off my brush. Like, it's very imperative that you tap off your brush. I don't know how else to tell you. Tap off your brush. They are all matte, aside from two of them that I don't find completely matte. I kind of find a satin finish to them, and that is Latinus and Lucius. Those two I find have more of a satin finish and not so much a true matte finish. It's not like they're shimmery, it's just a more satin kind of finish. There's a tiny bit of like a sheen. It's like almost matte. It appears matte, especially a light color like this, but it's not completely matte. I don't know if I'm making sense. So my overall thoughts on this palette. I personally delayed purchasing this palette. I was very hard on this palette at first. I definitely thought she was trying to just capitalize on the fact that her contour palette did so well that she kind of just slapped the Shade Light logo on a new palette and just kind of called it a day and figured, okay, this is going to sell out like crazy. I decided to pick it up. I did not have high hopes for it. I didn't think I would like it, but I actually love this palette. If you are asking me if I think it is worth the money and it is worth the hype it got, it definitely is. I've already talked about the fact that these eyeshadows are super duper pigmented. That's great, but they're also blendable. They are very blendable, and I just feel like for mattes to be pigmented and blendable, that's pretty amazing. You are going to be able to either use this all on its own like I did today, but definitely use it with other palettes. If you just had this palette and a colorful palette, you'd be set for any eye look you ever wanted to do, because the colors in here are so versatile. You have transition colors, you have blending colors, well, that's the same thing. You have your transition colors, you have your crease colors, you have your all over lid colors, your highlight colors. This is just such a versatile palette that I'm so sad that I waited this long to purchase it. If you were like me, and you were thinking, this palette's so overhyped, it's so stupid, why do I need another neutral palette? You need this neutral palette in your life. I'm not even kidding. Like, it's amazing. So, that is my 2 cents on this palette, the Kat Von D Shade Light Eye Palette. I definitely would suggest picking it up if you haven't already. But aside from that, I love you all. I hope you guys are all having an amazing morning, afternoon, night, whenever you guys are watching this video. Just know that I'm hoping you're having an amazing and wonderful day, and I will see you guys in my next video. Well, I won't be seeing you, you will be seeing me. We will be chatting in my next video. Until then, bye guys. Here is Sephora's bag. It is filled to the top. It's filled to the rim with stuff. I went crazy at Sephora. It's actually insane, but it was well worth it because I got, finally I got to VIB Rouge status. Now, of course, that means I spent a shit ton of money,